Now we had finished GIT, that is gastrointestinal tract, and out of that, you should know what is important. You must know that is starting from pleomorphic adenoma, Barrett's esophagus, peptic ulcer, carcinoma stomach, inflammatory bowel disease, carcinoma of colon. These are very important topics, and acute pancreatitis. You should know. Of course, you should know everything, but these are more important, and that will be definitely some question will be asked. Now we will be starting today hepatobiliary system, and the first lecture is jaundice. You have been taught liver anatomy? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You have been taught?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I will not go into this. Wait, 14, 16, location subcostal, attached to duodenum, dual blood supply, portal vein, and hepatic artery. This is a cut section of liver. Liver cells, you must have been told all these bile ducts, hepatocytes, endothelial, blood vessel, Cooper cells, macrophage system. Stellate cell is special cell, which is also called Ito cell, and it is found in the space of this. Store vitamin A, and it becomes myofibroblast, and that causes fibrosis. Now, concept of liver lobule. And there is an anatomical lobule, there is a functional lobule. Anatomical lobule is a hexagonal with three components, that is portal tract, a radical of hepatic vein and its center. And functional lobule or acinus is triangular with hepatic vein radical at its apex and portal tract at its base. And this functional lobule has got a three component, that is a zone 1, 2, 3. Zone 3 is around hepatic vein radicals. So these you should know, and there is a portal lobule. I'll tell you what is a portal lobule, what is a anatomical lobule, what is a functional lobule. So this is a lobule, anatomical lobule, and it gets its blood supply from here at from the periphery. And this is portal tract, this is hepatic vein. So it is hexagonal, and this is a anatomical lobule. Now, what is that functional lobule or acinus? This, if you see, this is central vein, and this is this triangular part. This is a functional lobule, and it has got three zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And it gets its blood supply from the periphery. These are penetrating vessels, artery and vein, branch of portal, vein and hepatic artery, and this supply from here, it is going there. And this zone gets maximum blood supply, to less, and so maximum changes of hypoxia are here, and maximum changes of any toxin is here. So we'll be seeing that because this gets less blood supply. So this is a functional lobule which has got three zones, and this whole hexagonal thing is a anatomical lobule. Now, what is a portal lobule? See this triangle, this blue one is the central, this portal lobule. It has got a portal tract in the center, and it has got three hepatic veins. Central vein, not hepatic vein, central vein. That is this, and this. So, this is the portal lobule. See, this is central vein, portal tract. So, this is a portal lobule. Hepatic injury, either by hypoxia or toxin or whatever it is, the changes seen are degeneration and intracellular accumulation. There is a ballooning degeneration in this cell gets swollen, feathery degeneration, there is a fraying of the cytoplasm, and then steatosis, there is accumulation of fat in the cell, that is called steatosis. Then necrosis. Necrosis can be focal necrosis. It can be zonal, that zone 1, 2, 3. It can be bridging necrosis, means from one central vein going to the other central vein, forming a bridge between the two anatomical lobule. Then it can be submassive or it can be massive. The whole liver may be necrosed or less than whole liver. So the submassive and massive is very dangerous. Apoptosis of the liver lobules leads to formation of concealment body. Will be showing later what is concealed. And there is regeneration of fibers. So the effect of hepatic injury: degeneration, intracellular accumulation, necrosis, apoptosis, regeneration of. So when liver is injured, all these things you can see in that. Now, what is the definition of jaundice? Jaundice is yellow coloration of skin, mucosa, and sclera. So this is a definition, clinical definition. Yellow pigmentation of skin, mucosa, and sclera. That white part of the sclera. Why this is? Because this bilirubin gets accumulated more in the plastic tissue. That's why sclera, skin, and mucosa. So yellow coloration of the skin, mucosa, and sclera. And when we examine, we see in the sclera, that is eye, or jaundice, or base of the tongue, oral mucosa, skin color. So that is a definition of jaundice, clinical definition. Biochemically, it is called hyperbilirubinemia. More than 2 or 2.5 milligram per deciliter of serum bilirubin, that is called hyperbilirubinemia or jaundice. And there are two types of bilirubin. One is conjugated, that is soluble, and I will be telling what is conjugation and what is unconjugation. So conjugated part is normally in the 0.1 to 0.3 is the conjugated part, and unconjugated part of the total bilirubin is 0.2 to 0.7. So the total bilirubin in the serum is 0.3 to 1.2. So that is a normal serum bilirubin. When we call unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, when we call it conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, when unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia means conjugated bilirubin is less than 15% of the total bilirubin. And conjugated bilirubinemia will be when the unconjugated component is less than 50% of total bilirubin. So that will be coming what is significance of conjugated and conjugated later. So you should know what is jaundice. Clinically, it is yellow coloration of skin and mucosa and sclera. And biochemically, it is hyperbilirubinemia, serum bilirubin more than 2 or 2.5, and two types of serum bilirubin, conjugated and unconjugated. Origin of bilirubin. How bilirubin is born, you will be taught in physiology, you will be taught in biochemistry. The main source is, of course, old RBC which die. 85% is origin is from senescent RBC. The second part is 10% from inefficient hematopoiesis. What is inefficient hematopoiesis? Many RBC, when they are formed, they die, they get necrosed in the bone marrow. That is the ineffective hematopoiesis. Then hematoproteins like in the liver, kidney, etc., like cytochrome P450, they are 5%. So these senescent RBC, ineffective hematopoiesis, hemoprotein in the liver, kidney, they are the source of bilirubin. And where bilirubin, these cells are broken, they are broken in the reticuloendothelium, that is macrophages. So macrophages break them, and what they make, hemoglobin is broken to choleglobin. What is choleglobin? Choleglobin is tetrapyryl ring, which is straight chain plus iron plus globin. So all three components of the hemoglobin are there. Only thing, the tetrapyrrole becomes a straight chain. So that is choleglobin. That is done by heme oxidase. From hemoglobin to choleglobin. Then choleglobin to biliverdin and then biliverdin. Now, globin goes in protein pool, iron is again reutilized, and the tetrapyrrole straight chain forms the bilirubin. Now this is shown diagrammatically. Heme oxidase, biliverdin, biliverdin reductase, bilirubin. So this is how bilirubin is formed from the heme or hemoglobin. Heme means globin and iron has been removed and it becomes biliverdin and then bilirubin. Now, processing of bilirubin in the liver. So when bilirubin is formed, it is unconjugated bilirubin and circulates in the blood in combination with protein albumin. So when it comes to liver, it is taken up by hepatocytes. So there is uptake of the circulating unconjugated bilirubin by the liver cells, and that is by cell membrane receptor or carrier protein, which is a glutathione binding that ligandine is glutathione S transferase, which transfer the unconjugated bilirubin, which is in combination of albumin. So albumin is liberated and the bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin combines with this and enters the cell. The glutathione S transferase plays a role here. That was earlier called ligandine. Now it is called glutathione S transferase. Now after that second stage, after the cell and this bilirubin has entered the hepatocytes, there is a conjugation. And conjugation with glucuronic acid. And that this enzyme acts as which helps in this conjugation, uridine diphosphate glucuronyl transferase. So this conjugation in the liver cell with the glucuronic acid, so one uni or bi, either two molecule combined with bilirubin or one, and this transferase, that uridine diphosphate glucuronyl actually transferase, which helps in the formation of the diglucuronide. And this diglucuronide is a water soluble. The unconjugated bilirubin is not water soluble, this conjugated bilirubin. So this conjugation takes place in the hepatocyte. The enzyme is glucuronyl transferase, and it helps in combining unconjugated bilirubin with the glucuronic acid, and it forms soluble diglucuronide, that is a soluble bilirubin. After that, this third stage is excretion. Excrement from inside the cell, it has come to the bile ductules, and that with the carrier protein, it enters into bile canaliculi. So this unconjugated bilirubin is circulating in the blood. First is taken up by hepatocytes, then it is conjugated, and then it is excreted in the bile canaliculi. And this is the step. Bilirubin, uridine diphosphate glucuronyl transferase. This enzyme helps combining with glucuronic acid, so bilirubin diglucuronide form. In the bile, it is secreted and goes to intestine, where bacteria cause deconjugation. And bacterial deconjugate breaks it, bilirubin, and this leads to deconjugation of and that formation of urobilinogen and stercobilinogen. So in feces, it is secreted as stercobilinogen 80%, and 20% goes to urine. So this is a normal process, and this 20% in urine and 80% in feces. So urobilinogen, which is a deconjugation form of the bilirubin in the intestine, is lost in the feces and urine. So this is the bilirubin metabolism. Now this is shown diagrammatically. This is a case of hemolytic jaundice. Hemolytic jaundice means it is a unconjugated bilirubin formation, because RBCs are broken down, plenty of them, and then formation of unconjugation. So this reticuloendothelial cells, hemoglobin breakdown, this bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin comes into the blood. Now it cannot be excreted by the urine while circulating in the blood, because it cannot pass through the glandulae, and it is in conjugation of bilirubin, albumin. So it cannot pass through, so it will goes to the liver, where taken up by hepatocytes, conjugation takes place, and then excreted into the liver canaliculi, and from there it comes through bile duct and all into intestine, where bacterial action will break it into the urobilinogen, As I told you, this 80% is excreted in the 20%. But some of this urobilinogen is again absorbed in the portal circulation and it goes to the liver. And this from liver, it is again. So, in case of hemolytic anemia, there will be excess of urobilinogen formation because liver is functional. And there will be excess of urobilinogen in the urine. You see this thick line. But there won't be any bilirubin in the urine. This is the difference. Plenty of urobilinogen in urine and plenty of urobilinogen in feces. So both will be highly colored. But there won't be any bilirubin in the kidney because this unconjugated bilirubin cannot pass into the kidney and come to urine. So this happens in the hemolytic anemia when there is plenty of hemolytic anemia characterized by jaundice. So there it is unconjugated bilirubin in the blood. So it doesn't appear in the urine. Now what happens is obstructive jaundice. I will be talking it later on. Hemoglobin breakdown, unconjugated bilirubin, liver conjugation, and this after conjugation, this is a soluble, so it circulates in the blood after conjugation and it is excreted in the urine because it is soluble conjugated bilirubin. So you see this black line. This bilirubin will appear in the urine bilirubin, urobilinogen. There in hemolytic jaundice, there was no bilirubin. So that is a difference in obstructive jaundice and hemolytic jaundice. And in obstructive jaundice, see this, there is a, here it is obstruction of bile duct. So no bile enters the intestine. So there is no conversion of fecal urobilin. So fecal urobilin will be absent. This urine urobilin will be decreased. Urine urobilin will be decreased. Fecal urobilinogen will be decreased. And this is called intrahepatic circulation. I will show you this. This part, when this urobilinogen from the intestine goes to liver again. See, from here, from liver it has come to the intestine. From intestine, part of it again reabsorbed to portal tract and comes to the liver. This is called intrahepatic circulation. Now, that was the obstructive jaundice, and now jaundice occurs when there is equilibrium between bilirubin production and clearance is disturbed. And this occurs in the following of manner: excess production of bilirubin, reduced hepatocyte uptake, impaired conjugation, decreased hepatocellular excretion, impaired bile flow, that is obstruction, intrahepatic obstruction or extra. So these are the 5 mechanisms by which jaundice is produced. One of the 5 mechanisms can lead to production of jaundice: excessive production, reduced hepatocyte uptake, impaired conjugation, decreased hepatocellular excretion, and impaired bile flow. That is, there is obstruction, maybe inside the hepatic parenchyma or it may be outside the liver. So these are the mechanism for formation of. Now we come to the types of jaundice. So first 3 mechanisms produce unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia and the later 2 produce predominantly conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So these first 3, that is excessive production of bilirubin, reduced hepatocyte uptake, impaired conjugation, this will lead to unconjugated jaundice. Hyperbilirubinemia means jaundice. And these last 2, that is decreased hepatocellular excretion and impaired bile flow, that will lead to conjugated. This you should know. So jaundice is first 3 mechanisms produce unconjugated and last 2 produce conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. Types of jaundice, this was earlier called pre-hepatic, that is hemolytic jaundice, hepatic, hepatocellular jaundice means liver disease, and post-hepatic means obstructive or cholestatic jaundice. So these are the 3 types of jaundice. Mainly, we will be dealing with unconjugated and conjugated jaundice, hyperbilirubinemia, conjugated. But if somebody asks what are 3 types, pre-hepatic, hepatic, and post-hepatic. Post-hepatic is obstruction outside the liver. which is not correct. There can be also obstruction in the inside the liver. So this is a wrong post-hepatic. Hepatic, earlier it was thought because it is cellular death and inflammation, liver function is affected, called hepatocellular. But now, as I will show you, there is obstruction. And pre-hemolytic. Now coming to pre-hepatic or predominantly unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. What are the causes of? What is wrong with the Hakim Khan? So what are causes of unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia? This is wrong here. First is excess production of bilirubin, that is all types of hemolytic anemia, ineffective erythropoiesis like thalassemia and megaloblastia, alimentary tract bleeding, hematoma, that is all causes of excess production of bilirubin. Second is reduced hepatic uptake. As I told you, there is when in the liver there is uptake, then conjugation and then excretion. So what are the conditions which lead to reduced hepatic uptake? Drug interference with membrane carrier system, sepsis, prolonged starvation, Gilbert syndrome. I'll tell you what is Gilbert syndrome. Then third is impaired bilirubin conjugation. Hereditary, that is Gilbert syndrome, Crigler-Najjar syndrome, and acquired physiological, that is in neonatal, when child is born, there is a jaundice. That is because of this enzyme glucuronidase transferase activity is decreased, so that conjugation is not taking place. So that neonatal jaundice there. Breast milk jaundice, that is increased deconjugation by beta glucuronidase. And diffuse hepatocellular disease, that is a viral hepatitis, drug-induced hepatitis. So these are the acquired causes of impaired bilirubin conjugation, and hereditary causes are two, Gilbert syndrome and Crigler-Najjar syndrome, type 1 and 2. I will be talking about later on. So these are the causes of indirect or unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. We also call indirect means unconjugated, and direct means that is a van der Waals reaction we do, and that is when you put van der Waals reagent and estimate the bilirubin, that is direct, that is soluble. And when you put alcohol and then van der Waals reaction, then it is total bilirubin. And that from total you remove the conjugated, then you will find the unconjugated or indirect. So that is a direct and so that was the three causes of unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. I mean, there are plenty of this only all type of hemolytic anemia will lead to excess production of bilirubin, reduced hepatic uptake, and then impaired bilirubin conjugation. So those first three steps of bilirubin metabolism will lead to unconjugated bilirubinemia. Now, predominantly conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, that is last two, that is intrahepatic cholestasis and extrahepatic cholestasis. I means intrahepatic obstruction and extrahepatic obstruction. So what is intrahepatic cholestasis? Means stasis of bile because of obstruction. So intrahepatic obstruction is decreased hepatic excretion of glucose. This will lead to decreased hepatic cell, means bile from the hepatic cell to the ductule. Bile ductules will be not excreted or excreted decreased. What are the causes of this intrahepatic obstruction? Hereditary, which is also called pure cholestasis, Dubin-Johnson syndrome, Broter syndrome. These are two congenital genes. Jaundice of pregnancy, that occurs in pregnancy, then fibrocystic disease, intrahepatic biliary atresia. So these are hereditary causes of intrahepatic cholestasis, which is called pure cholestasis, intrahepatic obstruction. Hereditary causes of intrahepatic obstruction. Then acquired cause of intrahepatic obstruction, impaired by growth of the bile canal, drug-induced, that is chlorpromazine, cyclosporin, inflammatory syndrome, intrahepatic bile ductules, that primary biliary cirrhosis, primary sclerosing cholangitis, alcoholic hepatitis, hepatocellular damage, like viral hepatitis, cirrhosis, sepsis. So these are acquired causes of intrahepatic cholestasis. And then come to extrahepatic cholestasis, that is outside the liver, gallstone obstruction, extrahepatic biliary, that is bile canal is not, atresia is did not form, and biliary stricture is there, choledochal cyst, this is not choledochal, this C is missing, choledochal cyst, liver fluke, this is a parasite in the liver, pancreatic carcinoma, head of the pancreas, that will block the common bile duct. So these are the extrahepatic causes of jaundice, that is a cholestasis. So cholestasis, I told you, It is a obstruction and leakage of bile, backward pressure, and increase in bile in the blood. Jaundice will be there, pruritus will be there, xanthoma, elevated serum alkaline causes, fat soluble vitamin will be there, and all that. Now, this what when there is intrahepatic cholestasis, these are the bile leaks, rupture of bile ductule, so there is a bile leak, and these are proliferation of bile ductules in the portal tract because of back pressure. Now, I told you what are the hereditary hyperbilirubinemia. I told you Dupin-Johnson syndrome, Rotor syndrome, Kigler-Nares syndrome, Gilbert syndrome. So, what are those? And they lead to intrahepatic obstruction or prevent conjugation. Now, I was talking about hereditary hyperbilirubinemia, which are caused by familial or hereditary causes. One is, and they are unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, which is Krigler-Nazer 1 and Krigler-Nazer 2. And then third one is Gilbert. So what are these three conditions? This is autosomal dominant and recessive. Krigler 1 is autosomal recessive, and Krigler-Nazer 2 is autosomal dominant varying penetrance. And Gilbert, we don't know, it is autosomal dominance, is very marked. Now, what is the defect? These are the autosomal diseases, dominant or recessive. Then absent of this, that transference conjugate, that which causes conjugation of the bile with glucuronic acid. So it is absent in Krigler-Nazer 1. And pathology liver will appear normal, and it leads to neonatal fatality. Child will die in the neonatal period. So this is a Krigler-Nazer due to absent uridine glucuronyl transferase enzyme. Second one is that type 2, which is a autosomal dominant, and in this it is not absent this enzyme, it is decreased. Liver pathology, liver structure is normal, and it is a rare condition, and it leads to mild icterus, mild jaundice. Icterus means jaundice. Kernicterus means in children is unconjugated bilirubin deposited in the basal ganglia that called kernicterus. That will lead to fits as well as loss of tone of the muscle, hypotonia and all that in childhood. So that is a kernicterus. It may lead to Krigler-Nazer 2. That is autosomal dominant. And then Gilbert, it is exactly it is not known what is the cause, but here also they say it is decreased. That enzyme normal, and it doesn't cause any fatality or any problem. So these are the three hereditary causes of hyperbilirubinemia. And then there are two more for the conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, that is Dupin-Johnson and both on Rotor. Both are autosomal recessive. Then there is a defect in bile excretion from the hepatocyte to the bile ductules. In this Rotor, it is uptake defect. And this Dupin-Johnson syndrome produces a black liver. Black liver. If you do a biopsy, liver will be black, but it is not because of bilirubin. They say it is a melanin-like pigment. And what is the nature of that? How it is produced, we don't know. So these are all excretory defect. So no bile is excreted in the ductules. This is also innocuous, and this also innocuous. So these two, Dupin-Johnson and Rotor, these are conjugated hyperbilirubinemia and unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, Krigler-Nazer 1, 2, and Gilbert. So you should know this. And these are because of these. Last two are because of excretory defect, and other three, they unconjugated because of absent or decreased amount of conjugating enzymes. So this is a jaundice. So I'll revise it. Liver cell, liver lobule. There are three types of lobule: anatomical lobule, functional lobule, and portal lobule. I've showed you all the three. This is a anatomical lobule, hexagonal. This is a functional lobule. It has got three zones, and this is a portal lobule which has got this triangle connecting the central vein of three anatomical lobules. That is portal lobule. Hepatic injury, these will be talking what are the changes in liver cell when it is injured by either hypoxia, toxin or infection or whatever. That is just, this is not part of jaundice. Jaundice is a definition I told you, yellow coloration of skin mucosa or sclera. Biochemically, it is hyperbilirubinemia, more than 2 milligram of the serum bilirubin. Normal serum bilirubin is 0.2 to 1.2 milligram. And prime one jaundice appears when the serum bilirubin increases to 2 or more. So the level between the 1.2 or 0.8, now some book write 0.2 to 0.8 is normal serum bilirubin, or 0.2 to 1.2 is normal. But level from 1.2 to 2 milligram of serum bilirubin, they say it is latent jaundice. So that is a jaundice, serum bilirubin level. Two types of serum bilirubin, conjugated and unconjugated. This is also called direct and this is called indirect, depending on the Vandenberg reagent. Vandenberg reaction you will be taught in biochemistry. Unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, when this is a more of 75% is unconjugated, and when it is conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, conjugated bilirubin is more, that is more than 75%. Source of bilirubin, I told you, old RBC, then bone marrow, death of the newly formed RBC, that is inefficient hematopoiesis, hemoproteins in the liver, kidney, then formation, breakdown of hemoglobin occurs, hemoglobin converted to choleglobin, biliverdin and bilirubin. Choleglobin is what? It contains all the three elements, but it is tetrapyrrole chain is a straight one. Iron and globin. Later on, this from choleglobin, this globin and iron will be removed, and this tetrapyrrole will form the biliverdin. So hemoxinase, biliverdin. Biliverdin is converted to by reductase to bilirubin. Process of bilirubin in the liver. Unconjugated bilirubin, which is formed in the reticuloendothelial cell, comes to the liver. It is taken up by the liver cell. So there are cell receptor or carrier. In the blood, unconjugated bilirubin circulates as a in combination with albumin. So here albumin will be broken and removed, and then it will enter the combined with ligandine, what is called glutathione transferase enzyme, and it will enter the hepatocyte. There will be binding this, and then there will be conjugation in the presence of uridine diphosphorate glucuronic transferase with the glucuronic acid to formation of mono and biglucuronide. Then it is excreted through along with carrier protein in the bile calculi and go to the bile duct and to the gallbladder and finally to the duodenum. So that is a processing of bilirubin starting from formation to. So that was this bilirubin, uridine, that diphosphorate glucuronide, bilirubin diglucuronide, this combination. Then deconjugation in the intestine, and then formation of urobilinogen, excretion in the urine as a, it will enter the blood and go to kidney and excreted as the urobilinogen, and in the feces as the streptobilinogen. This is in hemolytic jaundice, that is a red cell breakdown, and there will be no bilirubin in the urine. So there will be no bilirubin in the urine, and urobilinogen will be increased in the feces as well as in the urine. This is in obstructive jaundice. I told you it can be intrahepatic obstruction or extrahepatic obstruction. Here there is obstruction in the bile duct. So all the bilirubin after conjugation. So conjugation has taken place. Previous one, conjugation had not taken place, so it was all unconjugated bilirubin. So here conjugation has taken place, so a lot of bilirubin will appear in the urine. So urine bilirubin is increased. Urobilinogen will also be increased. Urobilinogen will be decreased because it is not coming to the intestine, it will not be formed. So there will be less of stercobilinogen and less of urobilinogen because this intrahepatic circulation of the urobilinogen is not there. See, it is decreased. It is blocked. Now I told you causes of jaundice are 5: excessive production, reduced hepatocyte, impaired conjugation, decreased hepatocellular excretion, impaired bile flow. So these first three will lead to unconjugated hyperbulimia. The second, these last 4, 5 will lead to conjugated hyperbulimia. Earlier we used to classify pre-hepatic, hepatic, post-hepatic, hemolytic jaundice, hepatocellular jaundice, and obstructive jaundice. This cholestasis means obstruction. Etiopathogen mechanism of production, I told you, predominantly unconjugated, that is pre-hepatic hyperbilirubinemia. There are 3 causes: increased production of bilirubin because of destruction of increased destruction of RBC. Second is reduced hepatic uptake of bilirubin. So whatever bilirubin is formed in the reticulum, it is not processed in the liver, so it remains in the blood. So there is hyperbilirubinemia that occurs in the drug interference with membrane carrier system, that they do not enter the hepatic cell. There is sepsis also will lead prolonged starvation, will do the same thing. And Gilbert syndrome, they say, we don't know actually, but that also is reduced uptake of bilirubin from the plasma to the liver cell. The defect is there. So reduced uptake. And then third one is impaired bilirubin conjugation. That inside cell conjugation defective. It may be hereditary like Gilbert and Keller-Nagar, or it can be acquired. Lot of physiological, that in neonatal jaundice, because of this enzyme is immature or decreased, and liver cell are immature. That's why in children there is jaundice, because a lot of RBCs are broken down. Then breast milk has got this glucuronide type beta glucuronidase enzyme, which causes deconjugation of the bilirubin. Diffuse hepatocellular disease will lead to viral hepatitis or drug-induced hepatitis, and that will lead to impaired glucose, impaired bilirubin conjugation. Now, conjugated intrahepatic cholestasis and extrahepatic cholestasis. Intrahepatic cholestasis, hereditary cause are Dubin-Johnson, jaundice of pregnancy, fibrocystic, whenever there is a small bile duct tubules are blocked inside the liver. And acquired is of intrahepatic is by drugs, again chlorpromazine, cyclothane, the inflammatory destruction of hepatocyte by intrahepatic bile ducts like primary biliary cirrhosis, primary alcoholic hepatitis, hepatocellular cirrhosis. All these things, acquired condition will lead to blockage of canaliculi. So bile will not come out that much in the. So these are the causes of, and this is extrahepatic obstruction, which will lead to again jaundice. Now these are I told you, these are the various mechanisms of hyperbilirubinemia, conjugated as well as unconjugated, and how jaundice is produced, and that is mechanism of formation of jaundice. And last one, I talked to you about this hereditary hyperbilirubinemia, unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, figured as 1, 2, and Gilbert, and conjugated hyperbilirubinemia is Dubin-Johnson-Rotter. And what are the defects? These are the enzyme defect, and this is the excretion defect and uptake defect, Dubin-Johnson. And if you know, Dubin-Johnson has got black liver. So if in MCQ, if you have black liver producing which type of jaundice, this is Dubin-Johnson. In other, there is no coloration of the liver, only in this pigmented liver, that is black color liver. And this pigment is not bilirubin. They say it is melanin-like pigment. So at your level, you are not supposed to know that, but at least you should know this hereditary hyperbilirubinemia. So I have finished. Any question? No question. So you read jaundice. From our point of view, it is not that important. From biochemistry, physiology, it may be.